Hello everybody, I'm Leticia and I'm here today to talk about my paper called To Play or Not to Play, Avatar Effects on eWOM Credibility in a STEM Game Platform. First of all, let me show you the STEM Game Platform you're using the study. It's called the STEM Game Crew website, and for those who don't know, STEM is an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. The STEM Game Crew website was developed by a MSU research team in partnership with the television program Curious Crew. The website displays links to more than 50 games related to 17 different STEM topics. The site also makes it possible for users to apply the scientific method. Players are asked to provide predictive hypotheses before playing a game and then to report reflective observations after they play the game. Here's an example of a game page, and on the left you can see the hypothesis form, and on the right you can see the conclusions form. The main goal of this study is to analyze the impact of different avatars in the willingness of users to play the games in the STEM Game Crew website through the lens of eWOM. Before we go to eWOM though, we need to talk about learning science through games. So the Atterley study showed that playing a STEM-oriented game increased players' interest in science and players' belief in their ability to complete science activities. Marina et al. Studies show that students in general prefer learning science through digital games and believe that digital games can make learning science more fun. The conclusion is that we should be using games to teach science. One possible way of augmenting engagement in a science-related virtual environment is through the use of avatars. As we discussed in class, the Proteus effect is a phenomenon in which people conform to the behavioral expectations associated with their digital self-representations. This paper is the original, by the way, because as we discussed it in class, the World of Warcraft thing can be a confound, but they're looking to the same thing, attractiveness and height, and the results are the same between both articles. Another article was written by Rattan et al., and it showed that when characters in science learning games are designed to adapt to players' characteristics, there is an increase in players' learning and interest in STEM fields. These are some examples of the avatars they use in the games. Although the Proteus effect is not the focus of this study, it was included as an explanation to the connection between users and their avatars in a mediated environment. The conclusion is that the avatar used in a mediated environment can impact our behavior during the activity and afterwards as well. So going to talk about eWOM now, this would be an interest theory to use in this study because the STEM Game Crew website allows users to post their comments for games and also see comments from other users about the games. So it seems that the website share commonalities with other websites that features online recommendation systems. In websites such as these, users heavily rely on other users in order to choose which product to buy or which good to consume. In our case, the good would be the game, so they will be choosing either to play the game or not to play the game based on the recommendations they see there. The two main constructs of eWOM, according to Gilly et al., are homophily and perceived expertise. Homophily is basically how similar individuals in a diet are, and perceived expertise is how much one user is perceived as an expert. Both homophily and perceived expertise can be responsible for augmenting perceived credibility of a recommendation, which then would augment user confirmation to another user behavior. Looking into the literature about avatars and perceived credibility, it seems there is room for exploring it because previous studies are either taking into account avatar facial expressions and the trait of purchase intent, or reputation cues and profile picture cues and perceived review credibility. I was not able to find anything else there that's looking into the way we're looking here in this study about avatars, so that I think is really cool actually. So our hypothesis would be H1A, homophily among avatars would be positively related with perceived credibility of a recommendation. H1B, perceived expertise from an avatar will be positively related with perceived credibility of a recommendation. And H2, the higher the perceived credibility of recommendation of a game, the more users will be motivated to follow the behavior described in that recommendation. So basically what we want to see is that down there you can see two users' observations about the game, and one is a scientist and the other one is not a scientist, but the other one that's a regular looking avatar could share commonalities with the avatar avatar of the user that's in the website. So the scientific avatar maybe will not be as homophilic as the other one, for example. What I mean is that we are trying to look if a user decides to follow a recommendation, it would be because it was a scientist who said to do so, or if it was because someone more homophilic to the person recommended or not the game. Participants were 200 middle school students attending a summer camp at MSU. The average age was 12 years old, average grade 7. Participants include distributed between gender and ethnicity distribution follow US national distribution, thus 62% white. We wish everything was easy like that. Participants were asked to create a username and avatar in the website. The customization would happen in terms of avatar type. They would have either pictures or squares to choose from. They would have 10 different types of color, 10 different types of eye, 10 different types of eyebrows, 10 different types of mouths, and 10 different types of fashion items, such as clothes and accessories. Those fashion items were distributed among science items such as lab coats and glasses, and regular items such as t-shirts and sunglasses, which 5 items for each category. After registering the website and creating avatar, participants were asked to play 6 STEM games in the website. They were free to don't play the games if they didn't want to, because we also want to see if they will follow the recommendation of don't play the game. If playing the game, though, they should fill both forms, one about the hypothesis and the other one about the conclusions. After going exploring those 6 games, participants would take a survey related with their perception of the credibility of the recommendations and their motivation to follow another user behavior. Each game page represented one study group, so we have 6 groups for this study. Here you can see an example. I'm not gonna guide you through it, but basically we are looking into either the 2 avatars are going to be homophilic with the user, or is going to be only one or none, or either both avatars are going to be scientific looking, or just one is going to be scientific looking, or none of them will be scientific looking, and we just crossed those parameters. What we wanted to see, as I mentioned before, is that if it's going to be perceived expertise or homophily that is going to impact more the users to follow a specific behavior. Level of homophily would range from 0 to 6, because we have 6 different categories for customization, and perceived expertise would range from 0 to 5, because we have 5 possible items that are scientific related, and they can be used, all of them, at the same time. Those would be our IVs. Our DVs were recommendations, perceived credibility, and confirmation to another user's behavior. I'm still working on these scales, to be honest, but for now, let's pretend that I use it something like, in general, I think the recommendations for this game were very untrustworthy or very trustworthy. And then I played the game, I didn't play the game because that was based on the recommendations I saw before and things like that. Results and discussions. Basically, it seems that all hypotheses were supported, which is great, and this study is just awesome and help academia and things like that. Well, I really hope to run this study this summer, so actually we'll see if it's going to be supported or not. And that's it, I guess. It was great having you all, and have a great summer.